What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 63 of Unfiltered.
No, yo, yo, yo again, bro.
No, yeah,
You're
yeah, yeah.
fucking up.
Broken
Dude,
promises, man.
I'm trying to mix things up. But we got the regular crew here today. We got Richard, Destiny, and Cody back from TI4 and energized, ready to go. How was TI4, Cody?
It was fantastic, but it was overwhelming. I think that's the best word for the event. It was a 4-day event. There were so many people, too much stimuli, uh, more often than not, too much alcohol. But otherwise,
Oh my
a
God.
fantastic event.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's great. That's definitely great. We definitely talked about TI4 without you last week, so we definitely
I know
missed you last week.
I fucking blew it.
Yeah, yeah. What? Yeah.
What can you say?
What can you say? It's all good. But today, guys, we got lots to talk about. Got Nation Wars update. Got Destiny 1, which is coming up this weekend. So we'll have Steven update us on that. SE2 patch
Fucking
came
sick.
out. SE2 patch came out. An article on ESPN came out with Richard and ELG MLG. Some drama going on there in the Call of Duty realm there, and then LMQ drama in the League of Legends. In the League of Legends space. So lots to talk about. We're gonna do Q&A again at the end, just as always. Go ahead and link, post your questions in the Reddit thread on the r/StarCraft Reddit or subreddit, and we'll try to get to the questions as soon as we can. And yes, we will get to some questions today. We got plenty of time for questions. All these people are like, dude,
I'm
you never get to
gonna be
Q&A.
on
What
an
the hell?
anti-ramble. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm really tired
Anti-ramble.
today, so yeah, I'm just gonna fucking zone out.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna do a Steven and just like stare into space until someone like mentions net neutrality or pornography, and then I'll.
There into
Perk
space.
up.
How did you know I was playing Eve right now?
Nice, nice. All right, well let's start off with some Nation Wars talk. We'll do some StarCraft 2.
Right, well, let me get this out of the way. Then.
Here
Okay,
comes
so-
here comes the no rant. So we're gonna start out with a rant right here.
Okay, well, let me just fucking start here, okay? So, a few shows ago, I said I was like dubious about the numbers, which I still sort of am. There was some stuff in it that didn't really make any sense. I never said the event wasn't going to happen, but certainly I did maybe intimate that it was a scam, which so far it certainly has looked anything but. So I'm a big enough person to apologize for being wrong because it rarely happens. So on those very rare occasions that I am wrong, I'm man enough to admit, like, they put on a good event. I think everybody enjoyed it so far. I haven't heard anything untoward about it. Minor quibbles over the streams, but certainly nothing that would make people think that it is going to be a scam event. So good fucking job. And just to qualify why I was kind of a little bit skeptical, I think if you guys knew what I knew in general about French esports, it's one
Oh,
of the
boy.
dirtiest scenes, and I'm not just talking about personal hygiene. I'm talking about financial corruption. People like Eclipsia and every organization. Well, not every organization, but a lot of organizations have skeletons in their closet, and it's not a very transparent scene in terms of people what they were doing it. So when I saw some numbers that were a bit dubious, my natural inclination is to err on the side of skepticism. Now, what I will also add, just to finish off the rant before we talk about the great event, is first of all, I didn't want it to fail. But I don't think it's wrong to be skeptical about events if something doesn't look right. If the default attitude is when something's a little bit like, if the default attitude is, well, it must be okay, that's when we're going to get back to the bad old days of people getting fucking scammed left, right, and center. I think what we should do is we should all be skeptical, a healthy air of skepticism. And then if the people deliver a good event, we should be pleasantly surprised. I think that's the better way to do things right now. So apologies
Pleasantly
to all the
surprised.
staff. Apologies to all the staff who felt so hurt that they've been spamming my inbox and Twitter feed with very strange harassment messages and pretending they don't know who I am. When they were in Iron Squid, they were pretty much hassling me every day to promote their event. Short memories. And to all the French people who sent me threats. Should I ever go to Paris again, thanks to those guys. But ultimately, I think, we should rejoice. It was a good event. I think it was a shot in the arm for StarCraft 2. And, it's nice to be wrong. So there you go. I said it. back to sleep.
All right, so actually, let's talk about the actual event itself. Yeah, like you said, I think overall it ended up being a really successful event in a lot of ways. The finals ended up being pretty good, or good between Norway and Mexico, and just
Who would have guessed at the beginning of that event though that would have been
your mic
the
went like
finals?
really. Your mic went really soft, by the way.
Is this better?
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, no,
You
it's
weren't
loads
you weren't pulling for Norway and Mexico the entire time, really?
Yeah. Believe it or not, these I thought those were sort of sleeper countries. But yeah, I was
Norway?
really
Oh my God,
surprised.
that's snoot on that.
Well, I mean, Snoot, but that here's actually what I think we can we can take away from the event was how strong some of these like star players from these certain countries are in all kill formats, right? Like a star player tends to be heads and shoulders above the competition, and then that's why I think Major and Snoot carried their teams to the final.
I think all kill format is fucking shit. I know that
Yeah, I don't love it
people have
either.
finally started to discuss it on Reddit. Finally, people are starting to say that the Pro League format is superior. Like StarCraft 2 is already StarCraft 2 is already like not a team game. Like there's not a very big sense of like teaminess. Very rarely do you get that like, oh, those guys are on the same team. Like it happened a little bit like with the early Liquid guys, and I guess with like a few of like I guess like I remember like Startail guys, you would see them and think they're kind of teamy. Maybe the IM guys, but not as much. But like nobody in StarCraft 2 really comes off as being like teamy. You know, we just follow the players. But the Pro League format where you actually see like different games with so many different people just make it feel so much more inclusive of the team versus the all kill format where you have like one star player and it's like this is fucking stupid, you know. I hate the all kill format. I think it's the dumbest fucking thing in the history of all of mankind.
I mean, I kind of I get why they do it, but in turn, just the all kill format, just having the possibility is of reverse all
Stupid.
kills.
No,
and stuff.
I
No, I'm
heard
just
that
okay.
argument.
Okay.
That's
Oh no, no.
the idea. But then
that's-
stories like QXC reverse all killing a team like that never happens. Yeah, like I mean, like I can make epic. Like I could run out and like shoot two kids and make an epic movie of me like running from the police, but that doesn't mean that it's good. Like just because some epic things can come from it doesn't justify all of the other shit that is entailed.
Well, I don't
from
think that
having the
every
all kill
event
format.
should be like that. Yeah, I don't think every event. I don't think the default should be like that. But particularly this type of event where you're talking about nations should not be all
Yeah.
kill for sure, right? Because you're trying to
It's not nations. It's like who's got the best one player.
exactly
Like,
right.
Okay.
So yeah, I kind of wish it was it was more representative of just the entire team here, and it would have been it just would have been better. And I think they'll probably think about that next time around. But in general, having an event that where you represent your country and getting like all these players together, is I think a very impressive thing that they did here. Actually,
It's
with the
it's a
event.
real achievement, no doubt about it. Real
Yeah,
achievement.
so hopefully we'll see more of these. The Nation Awards will, this is the second one, right? So we'll hopefully see another one. And again, they did the whole crowdsourcing, just went that route, right? Just to provide the prize and even the venue. The venue was cool. It was like this really small theater, but
Yeah.
it had the full out balconies and mezzanines and thing, and
It actually reminded me
crazy.
of Benaroya from the last two TIs, which makes for like a very, even though it like feels very big because you filled up a theater, it's like sort of close and intimate, which I think is actually pretty sick.
It sounded loud too. There's like a YouTube video of just you guys see that YouTube video of them? Let me see if I can bring it up. I mean, it's almost inaudible. It's so loud, but it sounded like it was pretty amazing there. Here, let me just bring it up. Okay, here we go. Let's see. I mean, it's all casting in French, but I've got the volume like almost as low as possible.
You guys see the fucking Russells. The first time in my entire life. Did you see Day and I getting Russell? And he
Oh
was
yeah, yeah.
Oh, because
Yeah, I
the
did.
guy who made the thread, ended up deleting it, but Day 9 was actually getting fucking mad. It was
I bookmarked it,
crazy.
bro.
well, the production. The one thing you can you bookmarked
share.
it. Nice. Oh my
I
gosh.
actually did as well.
I mean, the one thing that was definitely not the greatest was the production between the casters and the feed
shit.
itself. Right? There was some kind of delay going on there. So
They were so mad. Day 9 was
They were not
because Day 9
happy.
they were like casting all night or some shit, and they weren't getting like an official feed or whatever, so it was
Yeah.
like super. And his chat was into sub. There were
I'll
so
paste
many
it
fucking mad
for
people.
you guys, and I will also paste it in the chat for these guys. Do you want to read it, Stephen, in your best Day 9 voice?
I don't do Danny voice. I'm not making fun of it. I just thought it was funny because you never see like Day9 get mad.
Yeah, I know. Like the beast was like unleashed for a little bit. I think that's what made it
He's
amazing.
like, I can't believe you guys. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was like, well, look, I got the comment here. 'Cause basically what the thread was about was just saying, it was sub only modes.
Like they were like, yeah, and there were lag issues and shit too. With
No, there was lag issues. That was the biggest.
Yeah, but
thing.
the thread was the one I think you're talking about. Unless he got mad twice, was basically saying that Day9 had been putting it in sub only mode, and he felt it was a means to basically get more subscribers. No. Like he was using it as a cash grab.
He always I think he's always had sub only mode in his chat.
So his response was, "This is a ridiculous and frustrating thing to read. As has been said many, many times by many different streamers, the primary reason to be on sub chat is to have a semi-reasonable chat, i.e. avoiding spams of penises, Hitler, the power of Protoss, etc. A handful of subs signed up today, 5 or so. So to suggest that I'm doing this for money purposes is extremely frustrating. Moreover, I'm pushing to 2 locations, the O Gaming International English stream 2. So there's a ton of options. I'm having a nightmare stabilizing my own streams. I've ensured the O Gaming International stream has been 100% stable non-stop, minus some audio issues due to my misclicking. This is a flat-out unproductive jerk comment. And then basically the original poster had edited something which said, "Can't help but think that Day9 is milking subs by doing sub chat." And then Day9 waded in a little bit later on, further down the chat, was also, "They aren't paying me for this. I happily did this for no fee. I'll likely make a few extra dollars from running a largely ad-free stream this evening. Fuck me."
Yeah.
So Day9 broke away from the PG-13 veneer and went
you get one fuck in a PG-13 movie, man. This is his one fuck. He's still fine. Calculated.
You're actually right.
This out.
Oh my god.
What about circle jerk? Is that PG-13? Can you have a circle jerk in a PG-13 movie?
I don't know, man. My mom says America's going to shit, so...
It happens in boarding schools in Britain, so maybe.
I feel like it's weird because I always thought Day9 had other people that would like check social media for him or whatnot. So like to see him actually on Reddit, like going into the trenches, is pretty.
Yeah, I've seen him on Reddit a little bit more, just of this recent, like maybe in the recent months. But I know for a time he never even read Reddit.
So. Yeah.
Right.
People like peruse it. He'd have people peruse it or whatever, and then give him like useful feedback or whatever from it. Is what I heard.
Right, he did just say jerk. Smart. Sorry, I've wrongly attributed.
He said jerk comment. It can actually be.
Yeah, you can be a jerk in a PG-13 movie, no doubt about it. So actually, Cody's right. We're still yet to see the real Day9 in public.
Oh God, whatever.
It'll happen.
You guys.
He'll snap one day.
Yeah, this. But anyways, yeah. So there was definitely some issues with just that portion of it, the English stream. But overall, again, I think those guys did a good job, and those guys have always done a great job with all most of the projects they've worked on. So honestly, there was probably no reason to doubt them, Richard, until they've done something really really fucked up. But
so I'll defend my boy.
Lethal. Thanks, Cody.
All right, go for it.
So I'll jump in. The numbers, when I saw StarCraft, when I saw money raised in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, I thought that was very peculiar for StarCraft.
Too. Yeah.
And doubling back, I've people like, well, seats cost $80 and they've sold that out. But, I feel like that's very weird to include in the amount raised.
Okay.
Because that's not what is amount. That's just part of your core business. Raised is money that people donate to you, right? It's like part of the campaign itself. I don't feel like. So I thought it was peculiar too.
What if tickets were free and they donated for the ticket?
Some of the tiers gave it, but not all of them. I think the whole thing is very peculiar for. What was it? I think if you got first place, you still got less than 10 grand, right? And then it was a couple $100,000 in amount raised. I thought it was peculiar too. We all make mistakes. Even seasoned veterans like Richard and myself, we're prone to misstepping from time to time. So I just want everyone to know that this shit happens, and we're sorry, and we'll be better people.
Yeah, it's actually refreshing to be here, sort of saying, kind of sorry about maybe intimating it was bullshit, instead of saying, God, I fucking told you so. and having to do like a sad fucking interview with some loser who got all his money taken off him, or got sold some magic fucking beans, like stat drive all over again or some
Oh,
shit.
man.
Like,
We haven't even
uh,
done
uh,
that story yet. Jeez.
I know I've
But,
been sat on that for so long, man.
I know.
It's just esports. It's always a drama a day keeps the fucking real news away. You know what I mean? It's
True.
fucking
That's
bullshit.
true.
Oh, that real news in esports. Calm down.
Well, it does happen, Steven. Like it can't all be
Occasionally.
about
Okay,
crowdsourcing events.
I'll admit, occasionally there's real news. But we live on the drama, man. Come on, right?
Yeah, well, no, I agree with you, dude. I think it's a fucking industry that would be nowhere without the fucking drama. Like, seriously. Like, what else is there to talk about? Ostensibly, it's young people playing computer games.
Some people said we could talk about the games themselves.
Well, no, because there's such a limited scope. We're not really there yet where just talking about the games will sort of sustain itself without the drama and the fucking, craziness. And plus, we're not a very professional industry. So it's like, I mean, imagine NFL. If NFL was like, like how esports is, there'd be no players left. Not applied their standards.
It's funny people say that, but like sometimes it's just like a perspective check. When you look outwards, sometimes like there's the videos of like what it was like the congresswoman talking about some education reform, but like it was some like pressing issue. Like maybe it was the airplane going down or whatever. Some congresswoman was talking about it on CNN, and then they cut her off for like a live update on like Justin Bieber's like deposition or whatever.
What?
On, like,
Oh my god.
In the NBA community, I don't know fucking shit about the NBA, so I'm probably butchering this issue. But I think it had to do with was it LeBron like going back to the fucking
Cleveland. Yeah, going back to Cleveland.
Yeah, it's like so there was no like official information released for the longest time, and what every single reporter was doing was just like the most absurd. Like every article that came out was just absurd speculation after absurd speculation, and like eventually like somebody would just post like an announcement, and then everybody would be like, oh my god, like why the fuck are we wasting time listening to any of the fucking journalists on this fucking shit whatsoever? Just wait for the official announcements, because the journalists were like doing insane fucking clickbait. Like people were getting so fucking mad in that NBA subreddit over shit like that. So I mean, I don't know. It's funny sometimes that like I know that like not to take away anything from anybody, because obviously like we do a decent job in esports, but everybody sometimes gets so obsessed about like we've got to be professional to live up to everybody else's standards. But then sometimes when you look at the external like journalism community, like. Well, where the entertainment industry is, like, there's pretty crazy shit, like, even in, like, well-established mediums,
I've said this a bunch of times, man. Like, okay, so I can't think of one serious example of, like, a respected journalist being found guilty of, like, plagiarism or anything like that. Happens all the time in mainstream reporting. You had, like, Johan Hari at The Independent. Somebody else recently had to come out and apologize about it. I can't think of one journalist sort of... really publishing something that's like, I've seen a few people get things wrong, but I've never seen anyone like publish something that's like outrageously wrong, like not in esports, because it's such a close-knit industry. There's not really that scope to be outrageously wrong. But, we generally actually, I would say, hold ourselves accountable to a much higher standard than the gutter press out there. And we get labeled with the whole tabloid thing all the fucking time. I mean, people misuse the term paparazzi, not understanding that it means photographers. I mean, I get that thrown at me all the time. Like the idea that I just, what would be the online equivalent of that? Like, do I need to infiltrate people's like Ventrilos or Mumbles or, like TeamSpeaks and lurk there all day and overhear something? This information comes out generally because people want it out there. I'm not chasing people around to get an upskirt shot. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty fucking dumb. Some of the criticism that people get, and there is real news. Like we broke a bunch of big stories actually. Yeah. And we did it through real means. So yeah, I don't know. Community's a little bit fucking harsh a lot of the time, but that's just because they're kids and they don't really understand what it is they're fucking criticizing in the first place.
All right. Well, Nation Wars again. Good job for the guys over at O Gaming, and hopefully we'll see some more of those.
I'm still kind of got my fingers crossed that someone's gonna not get paid, just like one guy.
Why do you have your fingers crossed?
Because then I can say terrible. I was right all along. I can retract my apology. Okay. So if you're out there and you're French and you like me and you're involved in Nation Wars and you weren't one of the people that were fucking pounding me to death, don't pay somebody just so I can say, well, this guy didn't get paid. I knew it was a scam. That would really help me out. Thanks.
All right, moving on. Destiny 1 is going to start this weekend. Obviously, Steven's event. You got a new website
this weekend.
Now.
Whoa.
Is it this weekend? Isn't it? It's like in 4 days, right? in 4 days.
It's
In
a
4
long
days, the ladder
fucking event,
qualifiers.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, the ladder
It's like-
qualifiers in
it's
4
like
days.
a-
Yeah.
Jesus
Just
Christ, I
six
thought you were
like that.
friends.
Yeah. It's. I was looking at this nice countdown he's got on his website now. You know, that's what kind of fooled me here. But it's got the website now. It looks pretty nice, man. Like it.
Yeah, it's like a shit.
And it looks like, do you have? Let's see. You have all the 8 invited players. Everything's all lined up to go, right?
Yeah, it should be. I think, right?
Oh my god.
Did
It's
you,
your event. You tell me.
Did you make sure to like doctor your SEO terms to make sure you got all the traffic from the Destiny beta? Because that would actually be pretty fucking smart.
You were getting traffic from the Destiny.
Oh, on my subreddit,
Your subreddit.
I've got about 200
Oh
emails
my
in my
God.
mailbox right now with people asking me for beta keys. It's pretty dumb.
It's awesome.
You want to hear something crazy? I'm gonna bring this up just because it's not really, it's interesting. It's something interesting I heard at the last BlizzCon. So I heard all of the Blizzard naming conventions, all the HS shit, Heroes of the Storm, Heart of the
Oh,
Swarm.
yeah.
I heard it was actually, so like while we all teased them relentlessly about this, I actually heard it was all very clever SEO optimizing. That's actually something I heard from someone I consider
It was on purpose.
50
So the acronym was on
51
purpose.
51% credible at BlizzCon. Was
That's like that 51 is like barely there because I would think that that's actually really bad for SEO.
Yeah.
Because when I'm thinking of search engine, like for me, like Bungie releasing the Destiny game, that's bad for me because of people, because ideally, like in the future, if I'm popular enough, I want somebody to be able to Google like, oh, like Destiny, I've heard of that before. What is that? And you Google it, and like I show up. It's like, oh fuck, like that being tied to that word would be really good. So when Bungie comes in, it like dilutes the power of that name because now it's split between two things. Same thing with Heart of the Swarm and Heroes of the Storm. I mean, like if somebody searches for HOTS, HOTS, you want them to find exactly what they're looking for. Now, like at the end of the day, that's what SEO is all about. Search engine optimization is about, I want somebody to be able to put in the least words possible into a search engine and spit my page out every time. But when you start to like obfuscate, that's a word, right? Obfuscate.
It is, yeah.
Obfuscate, yeah.
When you start to do shit like that, when you start to obfuscate, render obscure, unclear, or
Obfuscate.
unintelligible, all of the acronyms you're using, then it makes it so when someone is like, oh, like I kind of, and HOTS is already kind of like a semi-noun, right? Like a HOTS, I've got the HOTS for you. Like I don't know. So like,
Well, here's
or rather,
you get Heart of the
and-
Swarm is like
and
the
then a
first thing
movie.
that comes up, and then a
bunch of
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't even see Heroes of the Storm on the first page.
maybe I'll downgrade this guy from 51% to 49.
Yeah, so in actuality, I would like you're diluting the power of that HOTS word by splitting it between two things, and you're confusing people in the meantime. I thought it was that was really confusing to me.
Well, it
but,
doesn't.
But I mean, I could be wrong on that. But
Well, the thing about SEO, like in that particular case that you're talking about, is that you're just trying to get impressions on, something that has not unrelated to what you're doing, and a lot of times that's good when it's not a product that you make anyways. You know what I mean? Like
a
you're
little
trying.
bit.
No,
but
totally
so
it
that's
is.
like this
I
is like the I'm gonna be super arrogant, but this is like when you move from like Econ 101 and then you go into like actual Econ and you realize that the things that you learn in Econ 101, like the actual implementation of those aren't as good, right? So like it's like for SEO stuff, you think like, okay, well the more hits the better, like just more hits the better, right? So like if somebody else names their shit this, like that's good. But like when you take it a step further, right? Page hits and all of that are actually not as important as when you dig a little bit deeper and you're looking at something like conversion. Like that's your actual moneymaker, right?
Right.
And so like the conversion that you're getting on hits, like for instance, like for me personally, I would wager a guess that my conversion is like 0% on people that are searching for Destiny the game when they wind up on my stream. Like the amount of people that wind up on my stream searching for Destiny the game that become subscribers, probably not a single person ever. So even though I'm kind of getting more hits there, the conversion is absolutely nothing. So all of those hits are dumb. So all they do is serve to confuse the data that I'm
Well, I
getting.
mean,
I might be
there's
getting
a
more page
whole-
hits and less
there's-
subscribers and like.
There's a whole other thing
the-
when it comes to conversion too, right? I mean, there's ways to optimize conversion too, but if you're looking purely from just impressions and that sort of thing, that's why this thing kind of happens with SEO. But for me, it doesn't make any sense if it's your product anyway that you can cross promote on, on Heroes of the Storm or Heart of the Storm or Heroes of the Storm, either one, right? You can cross promote your product. So why like actually do that with your SEO? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, so did I say Heart of the Storm? Heart of the Swarm. Jeez, if I said that wrong.
Heroes of the
Exactly,
Storm, Heart of the Storm.
I know.
no
See, it's like
passion,
I'm even
bro.
in no passion. Oh my gosh.
This is what they're trying
Lack
to
of
do.
passion confirmed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, anyways, Destiny 1. You excited, man? Looks like you're gonna be. Man, there's like 6 casters here.
Did you get QXC?
No,
No,
fuck
he's
him.
not on there.
Fuck him. I hope I get a lot of viewers and he's mad as fuck. I'll hire him for the next tournament for $50.
Well, you
No,
should. So, what are you expecting viewership wise? I mean, what's a lot of viewers?
Uh,
I guess.
I don't know. I'm gonna promote as hard as I can, especially once these qualifiers close. But
Mhm.
I mean, like, I hope for 500,000. I mean, you hope for the best, right?
Come on, realistic
Honest to
hope.
God, like, if I get more than like 15, 20,000, I would be really, really, really happy. If
Okay,
I get
yeah.
like if I get like 5,000 or less, I would consider that a failure. Probably like if I get 5K or less, like, well, fuck me. Hopefully, like, I mean, like anywhere from like the 10 to 15 range is probably realistic considering the caliber of players. But if I could get like 15, 20 plus, I would consider that to be really, really, really good.
Average?
Basically, the entire goal
Average
of
or
the
max?
tournament. No, well, average, max, whatever. The entire goal of the tournament is just to get enough viewers so that Kesper wants in next time, and I can tell him to fuck off. That's like the entire new goal, the new direction.
You just
of the
want to
tournament.
tell him to fuck off.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh man.
So I'll be trying extra hard for my promotions.
If not just for that, guys, you gotta watch it. You gotta definitely.
You could
watch
just
the
always viewbot it and pretend it was a success. Just do
Oh, I
that.
was gonna ask you about that. Does anybody have winner on Skype?
Oh god.
I'm just kidding.
Let's start this
Wow,
Let's
then
start
I'm
this
Don't
all
don't
again.
do that, man. I feel
I-
really bad because that bullshit Twitter account fucking made the claim he was view botting again. Which, by the way,
it's not a bullshit
That-
Twitter account. No.
it is a bullshit Twitter account. It's actually it's not right. It's a lie.
No, it's thrown off now because it can be thrown off by a heavy amount
Look
of
at the hosting.
embeds.
The
It can
hosting's
also be
like-
thrown off by the hosting thing now, but the hosting is relatively new. But it's been pretty accurate in the past. The algorithm that they use to conclude whether or not people are viewbotting, it's open source, and most people agree that it's pretty reasonably accurate. And it's been reasonably accurate in the past. I don't remember it making any huge errors. And there are times where even Winner's admitted, Winner's a funny guy, I like his stream or whatever, and he does get good viewers. I think Winter can legitimately pull 3K viewers, legitimately.
Yeah.
But there are times when he's getting viewbotted, and it's painfully obvious. When there are very few people in his chat, when his viewers will just drop by 1,000, some arbitrary time, and just lose 1,000 viewers for no reason. Like, it's happened like recently, like within the past like week. I've seen it firsthand.
But he's not doing
So, like-
it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no,
there's
I
a big
I
difference
doubt- I
between
doubt
when
he's doing it.
somebody's doing it versus.
Like I was only ever joking about it. Like I never seriously thought he was or even cared if he was. But it just, it was like one of those little mini dramas. So I like to just bait people out by pretending I give a fuck. But he's a cool guy, and then like to get outed by that bullshit Twitter account and then have to explain himself yet again. I just felt a bit sorry. It's come off the back of him not that long ago being swatted.
Swatted, oh my God,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. Like,
we were gonna have
he's-
him on and talk about that, but we never.
Yeah,
haven't
well,
got- haven't got a
I
chance
talked
to do that.
talked to him the other day about
Yeah,
it.
haven't got a chance to do that. Mhm.
I'm writing an article about it for the Daily Dot. The new trend of swatting our streamer friends. But yeah, there's just no question. He's not in control. On the rare occasions he gets botted, it's not him doing it. And I want to.
seriously doubt it.
Yeah, I want to go on the record as saying that because I think people look to me to sort of agree with him when they go, oh my god, Winner's a view bot. It's like, no, he's not, guys. I'm just joking. Steven's we're all just having a bit of fun at his expense. That's it. Like, it's not serious. So please leave him alone. It's getting stupid now.
All right, I'm actually going to link just you guys to a post where I link all the links that I'm going to be using during the show. I know a lot of you guys are always asking. So there it is in the chat. And let's move on. Let's move on to the most recent SE2 patch. And wanted to get, Steven, your opinion on it. I know you got GM recent, like last night or...
It's
Fuck
really
off.
fucking me over, this new patch.
So I know you're playing the new patch.
I'm
Oh, God, Richard, I'm not
really
even-
finding it hard to get my bearings.
What was the new patch, Richard?
It's the one that
Lines are
just
stupid as fuck
downloaded
again.
through Battle.net, right? Did that happen?
No.
That's accurate. He's not incorrect thus far.
What?
Yeah, so-
Being
and it
downloaded?
just-
What?
Yeah,
He-
it just changed the game a little bit, and I don't know. I'm usually high masters, but now I'm bronze or something.
Steven, what do you think of the newest patch?
Fucking mines are fucking dumb again. Dumb as fuck again. Fuck mine, seriously, please.
What about
just
the
for-
party hats, though? Do you find any solace from the fact that you fucking drones have these little hats? Does that cheer you up?
You know what? The party hats is another example of Blizzard fucking up because I would have paid money for that. The party hats are cool as fuck. I like them. I think they're cute.
Exactly.
I would have
That's
paid
the
money for it. I don't know why they didn't charge for it. Fuck, man.
99
We just
cents
wanna
for
give-
hats for your fucking drones, man. That's easy.
50 cents goes to the WCS prize pool, please. These original ideas I'm having that no one else has ever done before. Why doesn't Blizzard consider them?
Oh, man.
Maybe somebody will try them out in a larger arena someday, and then we can finally see.
What about the mothership? What about the time warp duration decreasing?
I don't give a fuck time warp. Fucking Protoss don't even use half the Protoss don't even know what half their fucking spells do anyway. But if you don't fucking believe me, look at any fucking pro gamer Protoss. Always fucking overcharges his Void Rays against Hydras and fucking Queens. What is the and Mutas? What the fuck does the overcharge do? I don't know. It makes the beam bigger. Probably does more damage, but they don't actually fucking know anyway because they don't know what like half the shit in the fucking game does. Fuck Protoss, okay? Fuck Protoss players. If you're watching your Protoss, get the fuck out of here. Go watch. Isn't Artosis on Meta or some shit? Episode
That
fucking
was on
69.
earlier today.
Oh, well, there you go.
At least last night, I think.
Yeah, it was on earlier today, with Hearthstone and
Yeah, fuck Protoss.
those guys. Thor change? Care about the Thor change at all?
The Thor change was actually okay. It's pretty stupid when you're Thor shooting
Yeah,
like
I think
individual
it's
lings and their
stupid.
mutas playing in the sky.
Mhm.
But it doesn't actually. I don't think that matters as much. Because mutas still defeat Thors via magic boxing. But I mean, I guess it helps a little bit.
All right, so I guess the only thing that's had a huge impact for you is just the mines.
The
Yeah.
mine change is so stupid. Oh my fucking god! I have like all my shit like split like mediocrely. I'm like, all right, well, I'm ready to fucking A move and shit on this fucking scrub. And then like I see like about 15 times as many units are dying as what I'm expecting to die. I'm like, oh okay. And then you rage type like, wow, fucking mines are pretty good now, you piece of shit. And then you leave F10 and the new mines are so dumb. Well, I mean the old mines I guess are back to what they used to be, but. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're really stupid. Terra needed something for the late game, but I mean, I guess we'll just continue patching the mid game until the mid game is like impossibly difficult. So that way we get back to the Wings of Liberty scenario where Zerg never lost in the late game and Terran could only win in the mid game. I guess if that's what Blizzard wants, we can just do that. So.
What's funny is this patch was meant to make Terran stronger, right? And has any of these changes really helped Terran against Protoss, or has it just been purely against Zerg?
Well, the mine thing's supposed to help against Protoss shields, I think. I don't know.
It does.
And the time warp
shields.
and the time warp nerf was supposed to help against. I don't know why. You know what? You know what they should have cut in half.
Yeah.
You know what would have been interesting if they would have cut in half is the planetary fucking nexus bullshit. If they would have cut that time duration in half, now that would have made PvT interesting because it might have actually opened up. Yeah, the planetary nexus. It might have actually opened up the ability for Terran to maybe do more than just macro TVP because you can't ever fucking all in a Protoss because you just click a button and their nexus fucking shits on your entire fucking army. That would actually be interesting to see the duration of that have. I think.
Okay. Yeah, that would have been interesting too.
But the time warp, I mean, the problem with having the time warp is that when Protoss casts that time warp on something, it's usually because they're about to fuck shit up. So if you get caught in that time warp, you're probably fucking dead anyway. So like, congratulations, like it's not lasting as long now. So I guess like the corpse of my Hydra head isn't falling to the ground like quite as fast or like as slow because the time warp is gone after all my shit is already dead. So I mean, I don't know.
Right.
So
the time warp was like really fucking random.
Are you still trying to say that Protoss is overpowered?
I don't know. Maybe a little bit. They're definitely really fucking stupid. I don't know if I would say they're overpowered. Just really, really, really fucking stupid, and maybe a little bit overpowered.
Well, we're still seeing a
It's
lot
hard
of
to say.
Protoss. I mean, there's a
It's hard
question
to
that's
say.
we'll probably get to at the end of the show that really
But yeah,
talks about
Protoss.
this,
To be
the
fair
breakdown.
though, it's hard to say if Protoss has gotten overpowered because a lot of Protoss are doing really well now. Like there's a lot of Protoss that have gotten significantly better for some reason over the past 6 months. So it might just be that Protoss looks overpowered because every single Protoss player has gotten a lot better. Like that's always a possibility, right? So I mean, I guess if GSL tells us anything, we'll see.
Right.
I think only 16 Protoss made it to the right. Only 16.
Only 16. There's like what 9 Zerg and 7 Terran or something like that. Yeah.
Something like
Only
that.
16.
That's all right.
Yeah. 50%.
They'll filter out eventually.
Okay, next up we've got an article about ESPN. We talked a little bit about ESPN last week, but Richard, you came out with your article talking about just more about how ESPN was really happy about how the international went or the coverage of it went, and it kind of goes even more into just some of the MLG Call of Duty stuff that we've seen on I guess X Games and how that's probably going to be on ESPN or that is set to be on ESPN in the near future, and it's. I think in the article, the quote's even that it's not only going to be like a one-time event thing. There's actually maybe a couple of these lined up.
Yeah, I mean, right. So just to pick up on this, like I've been quite fortunate to actually get a source that's within ESPN, or rather, yeah. Well, I guess that's a fair description. So the information that I've been getting is kind of
accurate.
Yeah, like undeniable. I think is the best way.
Right.
Unequivocal. I mean, The thing is, there's no way that they can provide me something that I can sort of directly copy paste without incriminating them personally, and I certainly don't want that to happen to them. But after I published my piece about ESPN being delighted with the numbers and looking to expand deeper into esports, it blew up. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to, because realistically, I'll be honest, this was a low effort piece. This was a conversation with someone that I have the fortune to be able to converse with, and the information they provided was interesting, and they showed me enough to verify that everything in it was true. So I was like, well, I'm going to go with it. Usually the industry standards in journalism is, you like multiple sources, 2 sources minimum, but this is a very special source. So ESPN, after the story blew up, emailed me. I don't know how they got my email. It's almost as if journalists can find things out. And they were like, well, we want you to add a statement to your piece, which was kind of a textbook denial, if you like. And that was, ESPN3 has carried similar events in the past, including MLG and EA. We recognize the international as an opportunity to deliver a championship event, but have not committed to any other esports coverage at this time. So it's a denial that isn't a denial, because I was saying they were going to do something that's in the future. So if you say, well, we haven't committed to anything at this time, you're not even denying what I'm saying. It's like
you're committed to it in the future.
Yeah, it's a straw. It's almost like when you straw man someone in an argument. You say, well, he's saying this and that's terrible, when in actual fact you're misrepresenting what they were saying in the first place. So that statement's effectively meaningless. I mean, that statement is in agreement with what I wrote, which is I know they're not committed to anything at this time. They're in talks with MLG to bring the Call of Duty League as their next big project, and they're in advanced talks. It's looking good. If I was betting man, I would estimate they're probably going to announce a deal within the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's where we are. It's been a complicated process, and I think what's been interesting is that ESPN has said as well that they're looking at other games in the MLG catalog. It's not just going to be Call of Duty. Now, my source couldn't specify what they were. They've said that they may be games that are less complicated than Dota. Or it could be, which take your pick. I don't know what that would be.
I mean, there's a ton of games less complicated than Dota.
Exactly, right? So, and I certainly don't want to get into that argument, but they said they're looking at the games in the MLG catalog. I reached out to MLG. Obviously, MLG declined to comment. That's not a surprise. So I think ultimately this is a very good time for esports coverage. Some people have said esports doesn't need ESPN. ESPN is a supremely respected sports broadcaster. When you rub shoulders with someone like ESPN as an esport, your legitimacy increases tenfold. There's no doubt about it. These are one of the premium coverage broadcasters for things like NFL. I mean, they still occasionally show baseball, NBA. Anything they cover is rubbing shoulders with the sporting elite. And that's very good for us. And I know that a lot of people are a bit upset. I saw in the Dota 2 subreddit, which it was amazing to be the top of that sub. Holy shit, that's never happened before.
You're making a little comeback. I feel like your Dota stock is rising. Which
yeah,
is
I know.
good for you.
I might start playing the game. I might start playing the game. Who knows?
You might start playing the game. Wow.
Yeah, no, because I play League of Legends and it boils my piss to
We
use.
should do game night one of these nights, man. We should do unfiltered game night one of these nights.
What, live games and see against each other?
The
and
four
see
of us.
maybe.
That'd be hilarious.
Maybe we can do that for the 100th episode. Though.
Yeah,
I'll be dead.
okay.
I'll be dead by then, right? So, but anyway, so I think I can almost kind of see the arguments that the Dota 2 subreddit are like, well, it's our game that's given them these huge numbers. IGN actually posted the numbers today, and it was more than 20 million people watched the international. That was just through online viewing and the game client. That doesn't include ESPN, MTG Europe, or the CCTV China TV coverage.
Yeah.
So That's ridiculous viewing figures. It's no wonder ESPN are like, holy fucking shit, this is real.
Yeah.
And I know that Dota 2 might feel a little bit aggrieved that Call of Duty is going to be the next big thing, provided this deal does get sealed, which I'm reliably informed it will. But let's try and think about a bigger picture here. We don't often do that in esports. We're divided into little tribes, and we want what's best for our game and our people, and that's cool. But if Call of Duty's a success, and that's 2 back-to-back successes for ESPN, they're going to reach out to other games. It's going to bolster every scene. It's going to add legitimacy. We're going to get away from that bullshit argument. I mean, about, oh, well, it's just a game. It's not really a sport, and like fucking darts or snooker is, right? And, yeah, so I'm really psyched about it. I'm really, really psyched, and I certainly think we'll have more good news coming out of the ESPN camp for esports very soon. That's my gut feeling.
The thing that I didn't understand was like, and I even agree with these people. Like, I don't think that ESPN giving us this sort of attention necessarily means we've stumbled upon like a new era. We've made it, guys.
We've made
but
it.
I don't understand how this can be sort of interpreted as a bad thing. I don't think like this attention is bad. That's always what blew me away as I thumbed through all the comments in the Reddit thread. It's just like, okay. So the way you consume Dota isn't through ESPN. That doesn't matter. It shows that they're paying attention to it. One of the things that's been really interesting is just like the way a lot of websites pursue esports. I mean, like IGN, for example, they broke the Dota news with the numbers, and it was a very short article, right? They had like a quote from a Valve source. It was 1 sentence long, and then the rest was just like. We'll write a paragraph that has like the link to the rest of our Dota comments. Hopefully we get that, IGN is showing increased interest in covering this sort of stuff when 3 years ago they gave the boot to their entire esports division. And mind you, their esports division was a lot bigger than an editorial staff, and that comes with bigger prices and stuff. But like they have, I don't think like how mainstream or traditional video game coverage is a bad thing. Even if it doesn't necessarily do a lot for you, how is that bad?
Well, I
More
think
people paying attention is okay, right?
I think generally I agree with you too. I mean, yeah, I think any attention to it is good, but it can be a bad thing if what's being shown doesn't represent what we're really doing in esports, right? Like if it's like a totally
like the little
version,
like
a Madden
piece or
challenge
whatever.
thing.
What like the piece
the
that
Madden, okay.
The Madden challenge thing was
I mean-
terrible. I mean, like
what was the piece that Total Biscuit did a response to? Who did that one?
BBC.
Like,
The
That was
BBC. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
BBC.
Yeah, about how
BBC's held up to this ludicrously high standard, and I don't think anyone in Britain really believes in that standard anymore. It's their standard of reporting is really, really poor, and they seem to be more like a government mouthpiece than anything these days. And whenever they touch upon anything that's out of their sphere of the sort of regular things they're reporting in technology, whenever they try and branch out and talk about competitive gaming, it's always cringeworthy. I wrote a lengthy response to a Panorama documentary not that long ago, which actually got quoted in the Guardian newspaper over here, and that was back when the website was Cadred, and it was dreadful. It was dreadful. I mean, this is one of the flagship documentary series for the BBC, and the things it was talking about, I mean, first of all, it went in with the assumption that gaming addiction was real, which I'm still yet to see any credible scientific evidence for. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying what we need to do
Wait,
is...
hold on. I just want to verify. The guy now defending the video game addiction isn't the real thing. Is the same guy that was saying that watching pornography like fucks your brain, right?
No, I didn't
Oh,
say
boy,
that. I
I see
said
it.
this. No, listen, I said
Oh,
there were
boy.
scientific studies that actually had been conducted into that, and there was evidence there that corroborated that. We haven't done a study into the realities of gaming addiction. Nothing that's been peer approved or is credible. There's been multiple ones for the exposure of sexual material to children. So it's not directly comparable. Which isn't to say I'm skeptical about it, because I'm a big proponent of pornography and freedom of access to whatever materials you want to digest anyway. But the Panorama documentary literally just took the worst examples, and it even misquoted people. I mean, which is appalling for the BBC to do. And I know because they conducted their interviews at iSeries, which is the UK's biggest LAN event, happens 3 times a year. And they literally would go up to people and say, so what do you think about gaming addiction? And the guy would say something along the lines of, yeah, I mean, sometimes, like when I was really into gaming, I would play like 16 hours a night. But I don't think I was addicted or anything. I was just younger. I had different priorities. But what they would do is they would cut the second half of that sentence off. And then they would say, sign this waiver so we can use you in the documentary. The kid thinks, well, I'm going to be on TV, signs the waiver. And then they're coming to me going, Richard, there was way more than that. They interviewed me for like 15 minutes and they've used one sentence and they haven't even used all of the sentence. They've used a bit where I say, I think, I used to play for 16 hours nonstop, and then it just cuts off. So that was really bad. And then they also used examples of people in PC bangs that, the two people who would let their kids starve to death because they kept gaming.
Yeah, that's the big story, right?
Right. So they let their kids starve to death while they were on PC bangs for like 16 hours a night.
Playing WoW, I think.
No, it wasn't. It was one of the sort of K MOBA specific ones. I can't remember which one it was. I think Aeon.
Oh no,
Lineage, something like that. One of those. Anyway, that's not really important for the story. But I mean, when these people were taken into custody after their children died, they were psychologically assessed, and guess fucking what? They were shown to have serious mental health problems. Now, for me, I would say it's the mental health problem that has made you prioritize playing down a PC bang over feeding your own kids, not the Panorama documentary on BBC. What they said was that it was gaming addiction that had caused them to do it, not the underlying mental health issues. Right. So the idea that the BBC's given esports a fair shake, or that they do this incredible high standard of reporting is very dubious indeed, and increasingly they're held up as this.
This is very relevant. That image is very relevant.
Let's see this. Oh gosh, let's see, what is this?
Let's have a look. Yeah, actually, that is a very relevant image. You should bring that up. Which isn't to say, like I say, look, really I'm not going to say. I know HBO did showed a documentary just the other day about gaming addiction. I haven't had time to digest it yet. I'm not saying gaming addiction isn't necessarily a thing. What I'm saying is, can we start conducting some studies into it instead of scaremongering? That might just be an idea.
So the cornerstone of a lot of it people don't realize there's really only one thing that makes something an unhealthy addiction, and if it's starting to affect your real life. Your real life, but if it's starting to affect other things in your life, like if somebody literally like plays games or watches football or jerks off or fucking punches kids or whatever, if they do it like 16 hours a day and like that's all they like to do, as long as they're still generally taking care of themselves, they're still meeting all of their daily obligations, they've got a job or they go to school or whatever, then it's fine. It's not like an unhealthy addiction. As long as they're not prioritizing whatever their supposed addiction is over real life, then it's okay. But like if somebody's like starting to skip school, or they like don't shower for years, or like they their house is like a fucking disaster or some shit, or their like kid is dying, then you have like problems. I get uncomfortable when people start to like tag like time hours, like, well, if you do this for 4 hours a night, like you're clearly addicted. People did that a lot when I was growing up. I remember my parents did that, and everybody would say shit like that, like, you play video games for how long, really, dude? And I'd be like, yeah. And I was like, how long do you watch TV for? And they're like, well, that's totally different. It's like, okay, dog.
Do you remember the CNN piece about Marine King Prime? I don't know if you remember this.
I remember.
CNN wrote a piece about him. And it was like talking about how he played for 10 hours a day, and when there was a power cut.
His parents was worried about him.
Yeah, his parents were worried about him, thought it was abnormal. When they cut the power to his room, he was screaming and tearing up his room and all of this stuff. And they made him sound like, it made him sound like a real fucking loser. Like there's no getting away from it. Now, it's interesting because when you talk about sportsmen, one of the things that would used to get said about Johnny Wilkinson, for example, the English rugby player, was what made him so good was he would train excessively. Like they used to call him one more down the training ground. He'd be like, yeah, one more, one more lap, one more rep, one more kick. He revolutionized the kicking game in rugby because he would stay
Holy
after
fuck.
hours.
Really?
And
that's your mom's nickname for me.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Carry on.
No. Good, Stephen. You brought the A material out today. It's good. But yeah, so they used to call him that. They used to call him one more. And there was David Beckham as well was notorious for the amount of time he would put into training. Now, I've never seen a piece that would say, oh, his parents were super worried that he was going to go on to become an amazing footballer or an amazing rugby player and be able to subsidize their lifestyles for the rest of their life, or he would go on to get over 100 caps for England Or, there was never any of this terror about him dedicating that amount of time to a sporting pursuit. Yet when it comes to gaming,
It's a stigma. It's a stigma of gaming.
Yeah, exactly. We go immediately down the addiction route. It's not dedication, it's addiction. And this is why I think we actually do need to get into this area of credible studies before we can even ascertain when something's addiction. Did Beckham have a football addiction? Did Wilkinson have a rugby addiction? I'm not even saying they don't. I think it's unlikely, but it's very interesting that we consider them dedicated.
Addiction, passion. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
how do you
there's all these degrees.
It just depends on how you look at the activity. Somebody that plays games for 10 hours a day, that's really kind of unhealthy and creepy. But if you read books for 10 hours a day, like, oh, that's really good. It's like, okay. Or the same thing with like athletics, like, oh my God, that guy's so dedicated to football, like he's fucking training, and when he's not training, he's in conditioning, and when he's not in conditioning, like he's thinking about fucking football, or he's like throwing, or whatever the fuck, like they're just like constantly fucking, and it's like, but he's really dedicated to a sport, and it's like, you don't call those people like creepy or obsessive or
all
anything.
The top athletes are OCD-ish when it comes to
whatever
sports that they're, or whatever
like,
they're great at.
Do you think Michael Phelps only swam for like 30 minutes a day and then took a break or whatever? Like, fucking, there's no fucking way. And swimming's boring as fuck. Like, Jesus.
That's why he smoked all that weed, man. He just had to preoccupy his mind.
Dude, that guy,
I used to have so much respect for him, but then all of his accomplishments were negated as soon as I found out he was a fucking weed head. God, it's so disappointing. Jesus.
It was the pre-land.
It's a despicable crime, really.
So despicable. Kids look up to that guy.
All right. Well, I don't know how we got down to the addiction route, but bringing it back to the ESPN thing, what do you? So it really will depend on like how it's presented, and a lot of the ESPN coverage. If we're talking about TV and we're not talking about ESPN3 here, like we kind of have to separate the two actually. If you're talking about TV, like ESPN2 and ESPN proper, like. Can we show like what they did to the TI? I don't know if that's great actually. What that little 30-minute thing that they did there.
It was weird. It was certainly very weird.
Yeah.
So I watched it in a bar with like we were there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was very weird too because when they took the video, they were trying to explain how fucking video games have ascended and it's become this incredible thing. But meanwhile, they shot the video and they had to, right? While the fucking stadium was completely empty, right? So that doesn't really sell at a time, and then everything else was pre-cut.
I mean, like the proposal, like that proposal is just okay. It's something that you might see, when you're showing that to an audience that that's an esport audience, totally, but. When you're presenting like that, it was probably cringeworthy for a lot of people.
Again, I think any attention is good. Like, So that's my official stance. But we watched it for like 5 minutes at the bar, and then all of us collectively, big Dota fans, were just like, I really don't give a fuck. It was impressive. You took the first 5 minutes in, you listened to see whose voice you heard and whose voice you didn't, because a lot of people were interviewed ahead of time. So everyone was just trying to like fucking they had like little marks out. Their phones out so they could call their moms and shit. And I hang them on ESPN. But after the first 5 minutes, we were just like, I really don't care. Like, whose turn is it to buy drinks?
Right.
That said, I think more attention is
it's all about consistency. So it's about like, are we going to see this regularly on ESPN2? Is it going to all of a sudden become a poker? Or even like an X game. An X Games ascended like way higher than this.
If it keeps posting the numbers, it will be. And I think Cody's touched on a point that maybe not a lot of people have thought about. I think one of the things that actually is detrimental to the success of esports when it comes to applying it to the mainstream is the constant sort of pandering to people that haven't seen it before. So we overly explain things. Now, I'm British. I haven't watched a lot of baseball. When I tune into baseball, it's not explained to me. It's not like, I'm watching it on a British channel. It's shown here on Channel 5.
Yeah.
And they don't explain it to you. They presume you're watching it because you know about it. They're not trying to ease you into it. And I think it's actually off-putting. It doesn't satisfy anybody. Like, on the one hand, it looks really basic and not like a sport when you spoon-feed people these, like, really tiny little tidbits of information. And any hardcore sports fan's going to be kind of turned off by that. Like, oh, my God, it's just games, and off they go. And if you're an esports fan and you know about it and you watch a show like that, you're going to think, well, what the fuck is this shit? I know all this. What the fuck? And you turn off. So I think what they need to do is just treat it like any other sports broadcast, which is, look, if you want to get into it, look at the rules in your own fucking time, study the form. There's literature out there. We've got a website dedicated to it. There's ways to get into it. But we're going to do the broadcast, the respect and the courtesy of treating it like it's real and the viewers aren't idiots. And when we get to that stage in esports, then we've arrived. I think that's going to be one of the things that's really going to help us boost our numbers and boost our credibility.
There's plenty of time, like downtime between games, and I mean, you can add all those things, right? All those educational videos, or just whatnot. Maybe even some more player profiles. Just kind of going behind the scenes, getting to know the players, and just what it means to be an esports competitor. You can do all those things in between games, but yeah, when it comes to the actual coverage, it should just be. I agree. It should just be straight up what we see as Dota 2 fans or whatever, watching it. So I definitely agree with that.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing at Scoot saying he's loving Cody's chest shot. You haven't got your buttons downloaded, David.
What does that tattoo say?
I'm not even gonna tell you, but I had to.
Oh, come on.
I had to sex it up. No, I'm not actually. I'm actually not gonna tell you.
It's one of those regretting.
You gotta leave a little to the amount. No, I actually.
Why is it Alex Garfield's signature, Cody? That's what I want. Alex Garfield was here, man.
Alex Garfield's a bitch. No, that would be awesome.
Does he make everyone at EG do that? Is that how it works?
Oh, man.
It's the cost of doing business,
awesome.
man. You know.
Hey, I'll tell you an interesting fact about chest tattoos. Charlie Sheen has one, and it says "back in 15 minutes" on his chest.
Wow.
That's why he's winning, guys.
Nice. All right. Well, why don't you want to let's take a quick break. It's been an hour, so let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back. We'll be talking EG, MLG, some drama there in the Call of Duty space, and then we'll talk about LMQ. Lots of craziness going on there.
Come on,
Oh yeah, we'll talk some Dota too, just because Cody's back. Your mic's like silent again, but.
God damn it, dude. Fuck me.
But we'll be right back, guys, after this break.
Peace.